Yeah, in my testing, actually chaining together like lists of messages like that is actually pretty beneficial rather than one-shotting everything. Um, I don't know. Maybe that could help.
Yeah, well, I mean, I found that putting everything in one prompt, as in what I'm doing now, as opposed to chaining messages from cycles together, doesn't really matter that much for performance. It's more that it's kind of a difficult thing to give the right weight to every single part of the prompt. Because, for example, one of the most recent issues I had is where during the retrieval challenge, it's supposed to find out what Tesla's revenue was in millions and write that to a text file, right? And what it does is it Googles Tesla revenue for 2022. It finds like 10 results, and the answer is actually already in one of the result descriptions, and it will then either pick one of those websites and read the web page, which is actually not necessary to fulfill its purpose, or it will pick one of the results from the list, but not the most accurate one, even though the task description contains uh, instructions to be accurate to the million and round it to the nearest million, etc. But it just picks a result that is accurate to 100 millions and rolls with that, even though there's a more like a more precise number, just a couple of lines down. And I'm just not sure why it does that. And I think the only way to really fix that is to um, add more granularized prompting steps to extract information or to create observations from actions instead of doing that in the processing and execution step.
I think the audience has arrived.
Yeah, no kidding. Putz was just summarizing what he's been working on with AutoGPT, giving us a hint of the UI and how to run it, as well as working towards resolving some of the issues we're having and getting AutoGPT to perform better.
Uh-huh. Yep. So, long story short, we got a front end now. Yay! There are some instances where it still crashes. For example, when the agent generates an error because those are not properly handled. Thanks to Scott as well for pointing that out. This is pretty much at the top of my to-do list right now because it makes it a lot harder to do anything else, since whenever the agent makes a little mistake and causes an error, it will just stop executing. And otherwise, it's like other than that, it's mostly going to be prompting improvements and just trying to pass as many benchmarks challenges as we can, because we still are in a hackathon and AutoGPT is not yet on the leaderboard. But of course, the plan is to get it somewhere on the leaderboard by the end of the hackathon, and I will be really interested to see how it performs then.
Yeah, likewise. I think that'll be really cool. What area do you feel like you're strongest in right now?
Ooh, I think I'm very close to being very good at code generation, execution, and well, not as in code bases, but in scripts. Code generation,
Oh yeah,
execution, and shell execution as well. because I haven't pushed them yet, but I have some local edits to the execute code command module, which means that it'll basically reuse the same Docker container for the same agent for like sequential commands for executing Python code or for executing shell commands. That means that you now have a persistent Docker environment, pretty much a sandbox, where your agent can do whatever it wants without breaking your system. And it can install Python packages, it can run scripts and do iterative development, or like run scripts that alter the environment and then run more scripts that rely on those alterations, which currently all doesn't work because all of these things are run in one-off Docker containers. So having that persistent environment will probably be make those code execution commands a lot more powerful.
Did anybody else just lose puts? Or is that just me?
Yellow.
I can still hear puts.
Okay. I'll leave him rejoin.
Yeah. So also, if anyone has any questions, just throw them in the chat and we'll try to answer them.
Tommy wants to know what's happening with the vision for plugins. I actually am curious. So what our current path is for that as well.
First, let me ask Nick: have you been working, thinking about this further since the last time we talked about this? Can Nick hear me? Question mark. Oh, can someone relay my question to Nick? Oh, he left. Okay, so to summarize, we kind of got an idea to revamp the entire plugin interface because it's currently a bit crappy and not really suited to certain types of plugins. Because basically we call a whole lot of hooks in a lot of stages of the program, but the structure of the program has changed a lot since we introduced that interface. So not all of the interface still makes sense. In some places, we were passing internal objects of the agent of the program to plugins, and those objects no longer exist. So we now kind of have a patchy solution for that to preserve the interface that works for 95% of use cases. But yeah, the plugin interface is not ideal, and in the AutoGPT has like the rearc module, the core module, and that has a way more advanced plugin system. I'm not sure we'll be pulling that in, but it basically allows to like any module that is not fundamental to the architecture of the program will be a plugin, even the ones that are built in, and you can just replace a module if you want. And yeah, so the new plugin interface should well, first of all, make it a lot easier to just add a command instead of having to add implement the entire plugin interface just to add a command. And then, yeah, we should probably also enable augmenting or replacing some other modules like memory systems, because like there's a limit to what we are willing to maintain in terms of client modules. But if we have a good interface for it, such as memory storage, then of course we'd be happy to say, okay, just make a plugin that implements this memory store. So examples of this. If anyone has specific requests as to components or components that you would like to swap out, or use cases for your plugin or your plugin idea, let us know, because we can use that to kind of figure out what the next step is in this plugin interface saga.
I have one. Just real quick, like to be able to have the plugin edit parts of like the base, like the agent itself, like the name or its tasks, or insert extra like add-on tasks to the prompt, like the original prompt, like in AI settings.
Huh. Okay. Interesting. Why?
We'll say for like the Reddit plugin, instead of having to tell the user how to set up their AI settings, it could automatically do things like grab the Reddit username that you've already set up and then inject that as the bot's name. So that way, when the agent is interacting with Reddit, it doesn't have to try to fumble with two names. It just automatically has its Reddit username as its name.
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting request. But also, at least in my brain, it's not a non-trivial one, because you would be editing properties of the agent, which I would say is tricky. Like previously this would be possible through uh, the prompt pre-processing hook, I think, because basically we just passed in the entire prompt generator object, which has all of these properties, and the plugin was free to edit any of those. And now these are all just persistent properties of the agent, and the prompt generation is not happening in the prompt generator, but in a prompt strategy. That's everything. And we just have the prompt scratchpad, so that plugins can still add commands and directives to the prompt. So maybe that. Okay, thanks. I'll think about it. It might be possible. Maybe it's not as hard as I think.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about it.
Sure.
Looks like Tommy might be typing a question. I know Tommy's a big plugin user as well. Oh, just says thanks.
Cool. Wait, do we have a plugins channel in this server? Or was that purged? Yes, we do.
We have a plugins channel. We also have a discussion. Can y'all hear me now, by the way?
Yeah,
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. We also had an open discussion about what we wanted the future of plugins to look like in our dev forum.
In the dev forum, not in the plugin forum?
No, because they got a dev
Okay.
guide.
Yeah, sure.
And I'll post the link here. I would love any feedback on this. So one of the ideas was just to fundamentally change the structure of what is a plugin to be basically what can be a command. Tommy, that is unknown for you. Do you have access to the developer forum? Bentley, are you here? Yeah, I appreciate that, buddy. But anyway, one of the things we were looking to do was see, do we keep answers are yes. Another question I had was, do we keep managing plugins? Which is a harder question to answer, right? Are we responsible for plugins or not, right? I would love thoughts on those two as well as what was mentioned.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I think in any case, if we have our own repository with what we call first-party plugins, then those do deserve maintenance. But maybe we have to be a bit more selective with what we put in that repository and what we just do with like third-party plugins that are not actually in that repo, but just in the list.
Surely, as AutoGPT, we have a responsibility to make sure that the plugins are, safe security for use.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree with the first party plugin idea. If it's a first party plugin, it's one that we are responsible for, but we need to be selective and they need to be ones that are actually going to be widely used and useful. But yes, we do have a responsibility to that, but we should also have a place where people can homebrew their own.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Scott, I would really, I think we could really use your input here on what would work well and whether it works well right now. If you were trying to develop a plugin, so like the pre-packaging stage, because like Python has editable packages for this purpose. I'm not sure if we are doing a good job with enabling developers to develop and test and edit their plugins before actually packaging them. See,
Yeah.
any other...
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking whether there are any other updates. I think that, honestly, the front end and support for the benchmark and the agent protocol is the biggest one. And then after that, like it's kind of a new reorientation right now because that was a really big to do. And maybe a fun fact, like a fun, useful thing to know. In order to support the agent protocol, first we had to implement pretty much statelessness in the application and allow saving and resuming of agents. Because every time you call an agent through the agent protocol interface, it will load all of the state of the agent from a file, rehydrate it, and then run it. And that means that if you now run an agent even through the old CLI, you can run the agent, you can stop the agent, and then at a later point in time, you can just resume it, which is not something we could do earlier. If you have any issues with that, please do let me know, because this is a pretty important feature right now. This should just work well because it's not super complicated, and it adds a whole lot to the user experience if it works. Yeah. Any other questions or ideas for what you would like an update about? Because if not, then I think we are good on this meeting. Oh, actually, maybe. Sorry, my interruptions come on.
You good, Puts?
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, that's actually exactly what I wanted to say. Work on the documentation. Thanks, Bentley. And yeah, of course, if anyone sends me a link with documentation or whatever to feedback, I'll be happy to do that. Disclaimer: do not send me your homework to feedback. I won't do that.
What if I ask really nicely?
Okay, maybe you. I'll help you.
I appreciate it. Awesome. Do we have any other topics for today? I know this one was pretty short compared to our regular ones. We didn't really go through the structure we normally do. But we do have a hackathon going on, so we got to be scrappy. Anybody have any final questions before we close it? Going once? Twice?
Sold.
Nice. All right, y'all. I really appreciate you coming out. It's been a beautiful day. Hope you enjoy the rest of yours, morning, evening, or night. Morning, afternoon, or night. I need a nap. But unfortunately, it's morning for me. Y'all have a great day. See you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep. Thank you everyone for coming, and see you next time.
Thank you. See you.